Thank you, Minister. I'm going to start off on this. Last week I met a woman by the name of Mary Doherty, ní Sheehan, originally from Bury and now living in Clare, and I met her in Croom Hospital where she was recovering from a short illness. And she grew up across the road from Eamon de Valera, where he was many of the time in their parlour talking with her father. And the one comment she said to me, and she's 96 years of age since on the 27th of April, she said to me, "What have Fianna Fáil done to our party? What have Fianna Fáil done to rural Ireland? And have they forgotten where it first started?" And then I looked at your reply to our motion here this morning on what you sent us in. And again, no proactive proposal for housing in rural areas. No new comments, only a rehash of what you have told us before. It's like you consider rural housing as a threat to the green economy, and it's obvious that the Greens are against anything rural. No new housing policy. How long do we have to wait? And I heard you on radio this morning on News Talk, and I heard about An Bord Pleanála and the extra people that you've taken on. I understand that and the issues that we had. But this is about planning for rural Ireland. Last week we had Macra walked the 79 kilometres here to the Dáil from Atay to show you about rural planning in rural areas. That's young Macra. We've had a 96-year-old woman, Mary Doherty, tell you, have you forgotten rural Ireland? And then you talked this morning again about the LDA. And again, the LDA only works within 15 minutes of the cities. 15 minutes of the cities wipes out over 2/3 of County Limerick. And you visited County Limerick yourself, Minister, and you saw the infrastructure in County Limerick where there is none left. Only for 3 towns in County Limerick have we got capacity now to build houses. But you've forgotten about the likes of Kilbehenny, Oola, Hospital, Bannog, Skeeton, Broadford, Glynn. I can keep going all day on all the areas that you have forgotten to invest in. And some of these areas haven't seen investment in infrastructure, in storage of water, for up to 40 years, even though Fianna Fáil have been promising it, even through their councils that are retiring. But currently, developers are being paid per square metre to build apartments and houses, 144,000 per apartment. So again, it shows that the city-based cabinet have forgotten about their roots, have forgotten about rebuilding our towns and villages in rural Ireland, where we could have sustainable business, people would be sustainable jobs, we would be able to come up then with a network for transport, but you are cutting us off. You've actually killed rural Ireland from where you first started yourselves. I'm asking you, Minister, we need to be funded. We have people with families. We have people that want to build in the local areas, but there's no infrastructure. You have put your whole plan, and you said it yourself this morning on radio again, housing for all. It's not housing for all, because you're not investing in infrastructure in the rural areas that we want to rebuild. And that's the towns and villages, 2,000 and 3,000 people in areas where there's no more infrastructure. You've promised it. I saw all the list that you've given through Ishcairn, that you promised there'll be engineers in by 26, 29, 30. All these years gone out again, but you have forgotten about the 40 years you've already promised. All these people would support local economies if they could build locally. We're talking about planning then that's outdated for people that are living, that want to build in their own land. Yes, we've seen that you've now waived the planning permission fees, but the planning guidelines won't allow them building in the first place. You're down then to the ribbon development, I tell you. They're down to sight lines. Our planning is completely outdated, and it's completely one-sided to a city base that you want to say that you want to build. But you have to remember, Ireland is an island that everyone should have equality. Everyone should be entitled to build on their own land and come home to their own community, where it's a town and village, and the responsibility lies with you to provide the funding for infrastructure. Iscairn have failed because they haven't got the amount of contractors to do the work. Give the funding to the local authorities. Use a developer-led approach and pay the developers to put in the infrastructure in rural Ireland, like you're paying the developers to build apartments in Dublin, Cork, Limerick, right? But you're not doing it in the counties. Pay developers to put in infrastructure if you can't deliver it. That will rebuild the towns and villages in Ireland. And they will support the cities. And the cities will support them. It will support transport. It will support infrastructure for everyone, that we can all live and work together. We've seen through COVID, when the broadband was on its knees, again, we were the last to get everything. And we're still struggling with it. We want to build rural Ireland. We want towns and villages to be sustainable. We want people to come home. We want people to be able to live in their own areas. We talk about modular housing. There's 7 different types of modular houses you can build. From log cabins, to timber frame, to block build, to concrete build, to ICF build. I've looked at all of them. And yes, they're workable in certain areas, but the only thing that we're short of to build modular houses is infrastructure. There's people in this country that have mortgages. They have got their own mortgages. They want to build houses. Even if they could get sites in a town or village, they build it, and they can't do it because your failure to invest in infrastructure. So what I'm asking you today is, just look at all the funding that you're giving to the developers in city-based projects. And I'm asking you to turn that around and developer-led, council-led, or government-led funding to go into infrastructure and let it be led by them. Don't forget where you first started out from, where your party first started out from. Don't forget them. Boree is where it started. And that's rural area. And you have, since you've come up here, you've gone completely Dublin-led. You're completely city-led. When you go to Cork, you see the 3 ministers that are in Cork and the Taoiseach, city-led. Don't forget where it all started. And don't forget to look after the people that walk the roads, don't work in communities. The community spirit that you have in the counties is nothing like you'll ever see in the city. They all pulled together, and they never forgot their roots. Like I hope you never forget your family. Remember where your family started. Put the investment into rural Ireland the same as you're putting into the cities, and protect our generations and generations to come. And don't forget us. But it looks like now you have.